Hey everybody, it's Mike from Monkey Fab. Thanks for dropping by. Check out the video. So we left off. We did the upper radiator hose, and there's just like a ton of little problems and things that I have to address. So I'm just gonna start nugging through stuff. I don't really have a plan. I think what I'm gonna start to do is get the intake manifold bolted down. So we'll get going with that. It's a little rusty. A little rust is good, right? I'm not going to let that go. So there's like a little gap like at it needs a little bit of a radius put on here. So like basically you can think like a pie cut, but I mean really it's just the bend part. But it's sitting, when it's sitting in there, it's just like got this, and it needs to be flat. So a wise person would just let that go and rock out, put your cock out, but I can't let it go. But I'm not going to do it now. Let's throw it in the car. So I washed this thing out with like water because it was so disgusting. There's still water in there, just kind of slushy. It'll be good. It'll be like cooling vapors that make our engine happy once they get mixed in, right? So that's the feed. That's obviously the return. Okay, so let me check the engine out and see what we got going on in the engine bay. You want to take a look? Would you like to see what's going on? So there is our engine sitting in meal. It looks good. I had stuffed paper towels in the intake ports to keep shit from going in there, but I must have taken that off when I didn't think that I did, but I must have. And I have no idea if this oil pressure dill back here is actually bolted on. Should probably try to snug that down a little bit just to make sure. But everything looks like it's addressed, so I think that's good. Nope, it wasn't tight at all. So that was a good call. Why is this car so big? You know, little things like, did I tighten the engine down to the transmission? I don't know. We'll find out. So this is kind of stupid. I was like, I got the plug and play harness for this guy, the EFI Source plug and play harness, and it is high quality stuff. It's a little confusing with the wirings, but I imagine there's so many different models and whatnot, so it's not really their fault. But one thing it didn't do is have an oil pressure sensor for it. And I called them up and I said, like, look, dude, there's no oil pressure sensor. And they were like, oh yeah, you had to add that. And I thought that to be kind of odd. Like why would you, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just add that? It seems like people would want to know. Wouldn't you want to know? Do you want to know what your oil pressure is? You know, my time would probably be better spent just cleaning the damn shop. But that will work. I already got one right here. I don't even need that. Right? Yeah. So I'll just put the stock stock sensor back in there, and we'll use this guy. I got a GM 3-bar. That will work. I have no idea what I'm doing. And like I said, I had that sensor. I have no idea what I did with it. Originally, I was gonna cut this little cool CNC machine deal to fit in there and make an adapter. Not that I really needed, but just because I could. And now I have no idea where the sensor's at. Alright, so we're gonna hit pause. Alright, so we were gonna work on the intake, and it was so bad I couldn't find anything. Like I said, this project's been going forever. So what I did was I just lost my mind. I said, you know what, let's stop and clean up this disaster that was down here on this table. And I've probably had three cars come through the shop with like major work, all of which have puked nuts and bolts and parts onto this little table that I used to just keep my very simple hand tool stuff. You use like my sockets all the time. But it turned into a disaster. Now it's like a hybrid disaster of many many different vehicles. But the thing that sparked that was I couldn't find the map sensor for the intake, and it was over there. I just had to find it. And then I said, you know what? I'll just dig through everything, and that way I'll have a fresh register in my mind of what sensors I have, what stuff I have on hand, that I need to put on the car. And I found stuff too that was like strangely, it was good and a bit shocking. Like I found my header bolts. The ARP header bolts that are sitting on the table with like 4 of them missing. So obviously I only have 4 bolts holding my turbo system on. So it's good to know. I've gotten to this point where I've, as I showed you, cleaned the table up here and got all the dust bunnies out from underneath it, and even cleaned off my shear, which is usually full of shit. And I think what I'm gonna do is just I have to work. You hear the thing dinging in the background. That's work coming in from Monkey Fab, and I shut off Fridays after work hours. Like if it comes in midday, I'm already probably working on stuff out in the shop, and I won't be able to address it. I don't work Saturday and Sunday. I try to work on these projects, which usually turns into being somebody else's project that I take in. But I'm gonna try to stop taking in projects and get this car back on the road. But I'll work Saturday and Sunday doing that, half of, I should say, because I like to come Sunday night is all the orders that have come in since Friday, is try to get as many done, finished, and pre-positioned to go before Monday, so I can wake up early Monday and just weld up whatever was left, and then everything that was ordered from Friday through the weekend is in the mail Monday, going out priority to my customers. Because I know when I order stuff, I don't want to wait. If I'm waiting like a week you know, for someone to finally hit the ship, then it's highly annoying to me. But I think what I'll do now at this point is I got this stuff all figured out and I rearranged some stuff, so I kind of have some organization going on. I think what I'll do is stop, take a look at the car, go back over the bolts, you know, the main bolts, the engine mounts, the engine to the tranny bolts, the headers, the turbo system stuff, and just go back through it and make sure that we're bolting it on there, you know, it's permanent, it's tight, it's ready to go, as if, you know, we're putting it together for the final time. That way I can put the rest of the stuff on, since we're pretty much done with the fabrication minus an exhaust pipe and some lower radiator stuff. And we'll put on there for good until the transmission and rear end blow up. Alrighty, so a friend of mine came by earlier, pick up some flanges. Actually, it was an alumni of the same school as me, the School of Automotive Machinists, and he works at a shop on the south side of Houston, and they were missing one of those odd 3 5/8 V-bands that some of the turbos come with, which is, I don't know why they do that. I'm not sure what the purpose of that was. I don't just piss people off. It's funny how people always want to make their own flange, like how a certain company has a T5 that looks a lot like a T6. So he was saying he had to go by my buddy's, Mr. Coates. He owns the powder coating business, Coatings by Coates, and it kind of got me to thinking that I still got to pull all my headers and stuff off. So, because I was, you know, missing bolts and they got to be put in there, tightened down, and all that. The thought being, why not just go ahead and pull all this stuff out and get it to Scott so he can do his magic on it, get everything powder coated up, and make it pretty again. So what's funny is that I'm teaching my wife to weld. I was thinking about doing a series on that. I know a lot of my viewers are people that got to me from welding. You know, they'll check in to see like one of my evaluations of those cheap Chinese machines that we did the raffle for the military charities. So a lot of those people, I notice whenever I post a welding video, I'll get like 4 times the amount of views on my videos as opposed to when I do car stuff. So I was thinking about doing a series on recording me teaching my wife to weld. I think that would be cool. So if that's something you guys would dig to watch, then kind of let me know. You guys, my turbo collectors I make, since I got one just fresh off the press here. So if you have, these work great for your precision, or not your precision, well, they'll work for precisions, they'll work for Garrett's, they'll work for whatever, but it's mainly designed for Borg Warner. It's got the Borg Warner actual ports on the inside. But I make these guys, I got the mounting tab, kind of like what I got in here, but this is for a T6. And it's stainless steel, and I just made with pride, right, y'all, in America. And they're like $150, and all you have to do, I can do these slip fits. So if you want, like, I can do 2-inch up to 2.5-inch, all being either butt weld, where it just sits right on top of each other and you weld around it, or I can expand these out with my Swedger, and you can put them in, which I like to do. That's I do with all my pipes. I just kind of expand it and slip it in. Makes it way easier to mock stuff up. So, so yeah, you can get those on my website. So these ARP dealies, you can buy these ARP exhaust bolts, and
Uh-oh, let's have to pull this guy, huh? And I worked so hard to get it in there. That's what she said. So I know people just feel like paying money for ARP stuff is like just giving up at some point. But these head bolts are pretty good. They come in two different styles. One's for a 1/2 inch flange and one's for a 3/8 inch flange. These truck manifolds are 3/8 inch. Let me get my, can I get a zippet? Can I get a zippet? The cool thing about them is they got nice robust 10 mil heads on them. Which makes it kind of nice, a little bit easier to work with. One of my smart friends taught me was when you're doing turbo kits, always use the manifold gaskets and all that stuff. That way, when you go to bolt it all together, you're not suddenly surprised by something not fitting like you thought it was going to. No. So, I think we can start. You guys still see what we're doing? We're here? Yes, kind of. Downpipe. Downpipe is definitely not 10 mil. Maybe 13? You look 13-ish. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Put those back in the bracket so we can find them. Oh, I forgot my wrench. It's funny, on these turbos there's always that one bolt that's got to be put on like special, like it's up underneath the housing, but you can't get the whole bolt in there, so you kind of put half the bolt in there, and then to put the nut on just a little bit, and then screw it down a little bit, put it on a little bit more. That's this one. Let's take off this wastegate, because it definitely looks like it needs to move. Of course, right? Tell me you didn't tighten this too much, Mike. You get off. Yes. Sweet. Alright. Don't lose the nut. Damn it. Oh yeah, we're gonna leave that one in for the last. That was gonna be the easiest to get off. Duh. Pay attention to what you're doing, Mike. Alright. Damn it. Hey, you settle down over there. Okay. Alright, turbo. Oh my god, who picked this place? This is a horrible place to mount a turbo. All right, there we go. There we go. Yeah, let's see. Here's the deal we made. You see that? For the turbo support, and it just bolts right onto the side of the alternator housing, and then the flange will just bolt right onto here. My supports, I'll show you that when I get the header manifold off, and it's all attached to the engine. So the cool thing about mild steel is it just doesn't expand as much as stainless steel does. Stainless steel is crazy. Stainless steel just gets crazy. Can I get you one? Okay. There we go. I had this feeling like I should probably be smart. Put paper towels back in those intake ports. All right, let go. Let go. All right, there's our turbo. Out, right now. All right, there's our downpipes. You recording still? I'll pull you off your perch. All right. All right, so we got everything pulled out of me, the turbos. This might give you a better view of how stuff goes together in here. So we got the turbo just sitting right up in there, and we see bright shiny intercooler piping down there. Yep. So it's there. It's got an air filter on it. I did pretty good to get, you know, a pretty large, like a cone-shaped air filter on there. And then we got the turbo stuff just kind of going all the way over top of all this mess here. So probably need to do some kind of sheet metal just to kind of do a little protection, because we got rid of a bunch of the call it the inside fender well, but we didn't really need it anyway. I mean, the tire's like a mile over there. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. We got all this stuff down here. So we got our downpipe, and I'll pull the compressor and the turbine. This very Chinese turbine. Probably have standard bolts. 13, 14 maybe, I don't know. Looks like I might come out of there. Looks like I already loosened them all up. Sweet. It's got like a little holder clamp to kind of keep it. I don't think I'm going to coat the compressor housing actually. I think I'm just going to go with the turbine. I don't know what color to do it. Such a hodgepodge of stuff under the hood. Alright, so there's all the little tabbies, and now we just try to lift this up kind of as straight as possible so we don't damage it. And then we cover this stuff to keep it protected. So I'll probably just put this whole thing in a trash bag and put it somewhere safe. Oh, I know. know someone's dying to comment. Like, oh, that's exactly where it belongs, is in a trash bag. Goddamn Chinese turbos. That's okay. We got thick skin. So that's it. I'll hit up our homie Mr. Coates and see what he says.